In this video, I want to get to the bottom of her issues. Poor old Esther has been in this carriage for far too long now. Forgot to put the bung on the end of the VVT pulley. Chipped my door. Alright, my beautiful assistant is here. Swap this extension wire onto the other one, like so. Nothing. The West London Classic Ford crew. Another big mistake that I made. Your eyes and ears are not deceiving you. We are back on the road and I'll explain what I think has gone on. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and it's fair to say that at the moment my world is a bit manic. As you'll know if you've been watching the videos on this channel, I'm trying to make as much progress as I can at the moment on Heidi, my hearing aid beige Mk1 Escort, but there's also loads of behind the scenes stuff happening with merchandise, etc. And I'm not complaining because I actually like a busy life, and those of you that watch my other channel where I post daily vlogs following my life, following my health and fitness, will know that I do genuinely prefer keeping busy. Now, one thing I have been trying to sort out, in amongst everything else, is trying to solve the issues with Esther, my ST170 powered Mk1 Escort. And in this video, I want to get to the bottom of her issues. Now, I've actually got a boxing class in an hour, so I want to quickly run around to the garage here at home where Esther is and try one of two things that I think are the only things left that could be causing her issues. Poor old Esther has been in this carriage for far too long now. This garage isn't particularly watertight, as you can see. She's literally soaked. And yeah, I want to get this thing back to her garage and then bring Maud, my Mk2 Escort, back here where she belongs. But I don't want to drive Esther back to her garage until I've got her running right. Now, as a quick recap, it seems that the running issues are being caused by her VVT not working properly, because when I plug the laptop into the ME221 ECU, I can see that the actual cam advance, which is monitored by the cam sensor, doesn't match the target cam advance, which is controlled by the VVT solenoid, which adjusts the cam timing on the inlet side with the VVT pulley and is determined by the map. So the fact that she's running rough and the fact that the VVT doesn't appear to be operating correctly tells me that the issue is down to something to do with the VVT. I've tried a couple of solenoids, I've tried another cam sensor, I've checked continuity between the wiring at this end of this wire and at the ECU end. I tested the diode in this wiring wrongly at first, but then redid it the correct way. So there's not much that I haven't tried so far. Now, loads of you guys have been in touch to say that I should double check the timing, the cam timing. And recently I was able to confirm that the two cams were lined up correctly, but I wasn't able to check that the bottom end was in time with the top end, because there's a timing pin that goes in the block when you're checking the timing, and I didn't have that here at the time. But I have now retrieved that timing pin from my other garage. So the first thing I want to check on Esther is the timing again, but this time we'll be checking the top end and the bottom end. With Esther's strut brace out of the way, I disconnected the VVT, the HT leads, the engine breathers, and then removed the rocker cover. I removed the spark plugs and then turned the engine over by hand until I could get the timing bar in the back of the camshafts. Then I removed this thread and nut from the block, screwed the timing pin in its place, and then removed the timing bar again, which I dropped on the floor. At this point, if the timing is correct, the engine should be right up against the timing pin and shouldn't move at all. And that's exactly how it was. Alright, so I've now confirmed that the cam timing on Esther's engine is perfect. Some of you guys were asking me in emails and in the comments if I loosen these two cam pulleys whenever I'm, removing or refitting the timing belt. And I do that every time. And this engine has actually run okay since I last took it apart. If you've been watching these videos, you would have seen that, I changed the buckets for the cams to make the clearances correct. So yeah, all this was taken apart, but it did run once after I did that. All I've done since then was I reset the exhaust cam pulley back to what it was when we tuned the car. I've actually set it back to 0 now, of course, so that I'm able to use the timing bar in the back. So yeah, I basically reset that back to 2 degrees retard, and I checked the cam belt tension and tightened it up slightly. But you know, while I was doing that, I didn't let the tension off the belt completely. I literally, you know, kept tension on the pulley, undone the bolt, give it a bit more tension, and then done the bolt up. So I don't think anything would have moved whilst I was doing that even. So all that's left now in my mind that could be causing the issues I've got is the actual VVT pulley itself. And in a recent video, when I whacked that pulley with a hammer, it appeared on the laptop that the VVT started working ever so slightly better than it had been. So, you know, maybe it is literally that pulley. And I have now brought one of my spare VVT pulleys here from the other garage. So the next thing I'm going to try is actually to replace the VVT pulley, which is going to mean that everything's going to have to get taken apart again. But at this point, I'm pretty confident that it must be that pulley. You know, inside that pulley, there's springs and stuff. It is a mechanical thing that moves. It's moved and adjusted by oil pressure, and the amount of oil pressure that's sent into the pulley is controlled by the solenoid, which is governed by the map. So yeah, I'm pretty certain that it is the pulley at fault. But right now, I need to get to a boxing class, so I'm going to continue this video after that. So yeah, I'll see you in a sec. Alright, I am back after an awesome boxing class, and it's time to tear this thing apart and replace this VVT pulley. One thing I am going to do straight away is remove the timing pin from the block, because I don't want to forget that that's in there when it comes time to loosen things off. You know, you don't want the timing tools in the engine when you're trying to loosen or tighten the cam pulleys and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just going to tear into this. I slackened off the alternator belt and removed that. Then I removed the water pump pulley and the lower front cover, which is a modified item from Flaming Turbo, link in the description. I lifted the rocker cover back off the engine and then slackened and removed the cam belt. I used my mole grips to hold the exhaust cam still whilst I slackened off the exhaust cam pulley. Then I removed the bung from the front of the VVT pulley, put the mole grips on the inlet cam, and slackened off and removed the VVT pulley and installed my spare, leaving its bolt finger tight for now. I turned the engine back from TDC and installed the timing pin, then used the mole grips to manually turn the cams until I could get the timing bar in the back. Then I refitted the cam belt and tensioned it so that I had 90 degrees of total twist. I made sure the engine was turned so it was up against the timing pin, and then I lightly nipped up the cam pulleys. And then it was time to turn the engine over and then double check the timing. So out came the timing tools, then I turned the engine over a couple of times, put the timing bar back in, then put the timing pin back in, then removed the timing bar, and the engine didn't move, which meant it was all in time. With the timing pin removed again, it was time to torque up the cam pulleys. Then on went the rocker cover, in went the spark plugs, and I plugged everything back in on top of the engine. Alright, so Esther's engine isn't fully back together yet. I haven't reattached the alternator belt and stuff, but it is back together enough for us to test to see if changing the VVT pulley has solved her issues. I've already got her ME221 ECU hooked up to my laptop. We may have an issue here with a low battery, so I just hope we've got enough juice in the battery to start this thing up. And if you've been watching the recent videos, you'll know that this is what we're looking at. We're on the VVT screen, and we basically want to make sure that this number is following this number. It's not connected at the moment, but yeah, when it's running, we need this number to follow this number. Still not working. I made a big mistake. Did any of you notice it? I forgot to put the bung on the end of the VVT pulley. Look at the state of Esther's bay. Oh my god. Right, big clean-up operation. Right, I've given it a rough clean, just with brake cleaner. And now we've actually got a bung in the end of the VVT pulley. I'm eager to do the test again. Oh, in other news, I just chipped my door. These microphones that I use, they've got a clip on them, but they're also magnetic. So sometimes when I'm leaning over the car, they sort of stick to the car. And yeah, it's stuck to the door, and then I'll shut the door on it. So yeah, I'll have to touch up the paint. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, especially if this engine's now running right. Nope. Well, that's disappointing. I really thought that the VVT pulley itself was the last thing that could be causing the issue. But there is one thing I haven't checked yet, and it's something that some of you guys did suggest that I check. In a previous video, I tested for continuity on the VVT plug wires. So I tested that I was getting a connection between here and the ECU end of both of those wires. But I didn't try the same thing with the cam sensor wire. And the main reason I didn't bother doing that is because when I'm firing the engine up, I'm getting what's called full sync on the sensors on the laptop. If the cam sensor wasn't communicating with the ECU, it would come up and say crank sync to let me know that only the crank sensor is communicating with the ECU. So I kind of assumed that because I'm getting full sync, then the wiring for the cam sensor must be working right. Now I have already tried another cam sensor itself, but yeah, as I say, I didn't test for continuity between the cam sensor wiring and the ECU. But what I'm thinking now is, you know, maybe there is a signal coming from that sensor to tell the ECU that we've got sync, which, you know, allows the engine to start and allows us to get the full sync on the laptop. But maybe there isn't enough of a connection in one of those wires for the cam sensor to communicate with the ECU to then tell the ECU how much the inlet cam needs to be advanced by the VVT to achieve the correct cam advance, right? So my beautiful girlfriend Kat is coming around now with my multimeter and a length of wire, and yeah, we're going to try and test for continuity between the cam sensor wiring and the ECU, because yeah, I'm running out of things that could possibly be causing this issue. All right, my beautiful assistant is here, and she's brought my multimeter, and I've just been looking on the paperwork. Pin number 15 is cam sensor positive, and then pin number 22 is cam sensor negative. Basically, you got one white wire, one blue wire inside that red shield for the cam sensor. Now I've already hooked up this bit of wire here. I've poked it into the pin for the white wire. All this information I downloaded from the Motorsport Electronics website, by the way. So yeah, basically I'm just going to test for continuity between that plug and the other end of those wires where it goes into the ECU. So I'm going to set this to the 200 down here, this setting here. I'll give you one of them wires, which you, yeah, anyone, you can hold that on the other end of that purple wire. Yeah. And then I need to touch this on the correct wire on the back of these multi-plugs. Pin number 15, cam sensor positive, which is the white one. And according to this diagram, pin number 15 is, see that red one? That's 13, purple is 14, and the white one is 15. That one there. And we get a reading. So now I'll just swap this extension wire onto the other one, like so. And then I need this pin here, 22, which is the blue one. 22, you've got 21 there. That blue wire there is 21, and the wire next to it, which is also blue, is 22. So it's that one there. Nothing. All right, well, I've double checked that that extension wire was in the plug for the cam sensor correctly. Kat has definitely been, you know, holding the extension wire against the pin for the multimeter. I've checked that the wires are in the multimeter properly, and I've, you know, made sure that this is poked into the pin on the multi-plug, and I've double checked that I'm putting it into the correct one. So with there being no continuity between the plug and the ECU on that one wire for the cam sensor, we've now got something else to go on. So to be continued. See you in a sec. Hello, into a new day, and this afternoon I am planning to get back round to the garage to replace that wire in Esther's cam sensor wiring. and hopefully that will solve all these issues I've been having with her engine. But right now I'm actually on my way to meet up with the West London Classic Ford crew for one of their breakfast meets. So while I'm there, I'll wave my camera at any cars that do show up this morning. I spy a cheeky Sierra. Hello, into another new day, and I'm back round here at the garage with Esther. Now, just after I stopped filming the other day, I noticed another big mistake that I made. You'll see here on the floor, we've got quite a lot of oil. And although I did fire the engine up the other day without the bung in the end of the VVT pulley, most of that oil went all over the engine bay. This oil, however, actually came out of the side of Esther's block because I forgot to refit the little thread and nut back into the side of the block, which you remove to screw this in when you're doing the timing. So that bung is now screwed back into the block, and I've topped Esther's oil up. And then I was thinking, what if the VVT isn't working correctly now that I've fitted a different pulley because the oil pressure was too low, because that bung was missing from the side of the block? Because after all, the VVT solenoid uses oil pressure to make the VVT work correctly. So I came around here today, plugged the cam sensor back in and plugged the ECU back in, and then I went to fire up the engine whilst it was connected to the laptop, and unfortunately the battery died before it would fire up. But because I had the VVT screen on when I was trying to start it up, the VVT actual, or the cam actual advance, went up to like 20 odd degrees. You know, I was feathering the throttle, so it appeared that the VVT was working correctly, or it's certainly working better than it has at all since I've had this problem. So then I thought to myself, you know, maybe the VVT problem is solved. So before I start ghetto rigging up a wire for the cam sensor to test what we thought we found the other day when we was testing for continuity, I thought I might as well take Esther's battery home and charge it up, and it is on charge now. And whilst it's charging, I'm going to throw the front of the engine back together and get the alternator hooked back up. And then that way, if she does fire up, once I've put that little bit of juice into her battery, at least the battery will be getting charged by the alternator. Now, that doesn't explain why the tests on the cam sensor wiring showed that there wasn't any continuity. But yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. For now, as I say, I'm going to throw the rest of this engine back together. Alright, so the VVT isn't working. Alright, so I've ghetto rigged this purple wire, basically pushed it into the back of the cam sensor plug, so it's touching the back of the connector for the blue wire. And I've basically done the same at the ECU end, got it poking into the correct pin on the multi-plug. battery hasn't got a lot of power at all. Having to use this auto wit jump starter, which uses the dead battery to charge itself and then pumps power into the battery. Not sure exactly how it does it. Seems like magic to me. But yeah, it doesn't give you many turns. You know, it's not like a normal jump pack where you charge it up at home and then it gives you loads and loads of turns. So let's just hope we can get this thing running again. Still not working. Your eyes and ears are not deceiving you. We are back on the road. I think I know what was, or still is, the issue. And it's partly down to some utter idiocy from myself. And if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you know that I don't hide away from my own mistakes, and I'm happy to share all my idiocy with you. So yeah, I need to go and get some fuel for this thing, and then we'll pull over somewhere and I'll explain what I think has gone on. Alright, so I've just pulled into a Tesco's car park. I did actually just give Esther a quick rinse off with the jet wash. Didn't go mad at all, but she was absolutely filthy, so I thought I'd throw some water at her. She's definitely a little bit better than she was. So let me open the bonnet and I'll explain exactly what I think has been causing our issues the whole time. I'll have to hold the bonnet up because I don't have my bonnet prop. But basically, what I found just after I filmed the clips earlier on was that these two trumpets were black. And then when she was idling and I pulled number 1 or number 2 HT lead off the spark plug, there was no change. So she's basically been running on 2. And when I had a look at the coil pack, I realised that these 2 HT leads were round the wrong way. And once I put them round the right way, she idled way better. And obviously when you pull off number 1 or 2 HT lead, you notice a difference in how she's idling. So I reckon the reason this thing was running so bad the last time I brought her home from my other garage is that these 2 HT leads were round the wrong way. But that doesn't explain why the VVT seemed like it wasn't working when it was plugged into the laptop. Now, what I think has gone on is, you know, the engine was running rough because those 2 HT leads were around the wrong way. And then I've plugged in the laptop and obviously seen that the VVT target and actual aren't matching. So I've assumed that the VVT is causing our issue, right? The VVT not working is causing our issue. Because I know that when you unplug the VVT, the car feels really low on power, right? But what I think's actually happening is, you know, there is definitely something wrong with the cam sensor. Probably that wire that we found the other day didn't have continuity. And the reason that nothing changed when I tried to ghetto-rig the wire up earlier could be maybe that, you know, I'm just trying to poke a wire into the back of a pin. So maybe it wasn't connecting properly, or maybe the issue is actually one of the like spade terminal pin things not connecting with either the sensor this end or the ECU the other end, right? So it might not be, you know, the actual wire, it might be the connection between the wire and the sensor, or the wire and the ECU. Or it could even be the pin in the back of the ECU where that blue wire connects to, right? So that might be why I didn't get a change when I ghetto-rigged up that wire. I am tempted to, at some point in the next few days, actually solder a wire to the back of the wire and bypass it a bit better. But yeah, what I think is going on is, you know, the way this is set up, the ECU doesn't need to use any data from the cam sensor to decide how the engine should run. It doesn't use the cam sensor data to adjust the VVT. The VVT settings, if you like, were set up when the car was on the rolling road, and then, you know, everything was working right. You know, the actual was following the target. So what I reckon's going on is, even though there's some issue with the cam sensor or the cam sensor wiring, the VVT is actually working. It's just that the cam sensor isn't telling us that the VVT is working. It's not telling us what the inlet cam is doing. And the reason that this was down on power was literally because them 2 HT leads were around the wrong way. Because now she runs sweet, plenty of power, but, you know, the last time I plugged the laptop in, the cam sensor actual wasn't matching the target VVT. So I now believe that the VVT has been working the whole time. It's just that those HT leads were around the wrong way. And the reason I thought that the VVT wasn't working is because there's something wrong with the cam sensor side of things, which when you plug it into the laptop is supposed to tell me what the inlet cam is doing. But yeah, I've gone all round the houses, and basically the main issue was 2 HT leads around the wrong way. So let it be a lesson to all you guys. It's certainly a lesson to me to check the basics, you know, whenever you get an issue with your engine. Now, I hope I haven't done any damage to this engine running it for probably 20 miles with those 2 HT leads around the wrong way. But yeah, she runs sweet now. She idles sweet. I just hope that the battery's got enough juice in it to start it up now to take me home. All right, so there you go. It appears we do finally have a conclusion with Esther's issues. I can't believe that the whole time she's basically been running on 2 because I didn't check the basics and make sure that the HT leads were all the right way around. But it is what it is. I still do need to figure out exactly why the cam sensor doesn't seem to be relaying the information to the laptop correctly. But yeah, I'm just glad that she's running right. And now in the next few days or so, I'll be able to take her back to her garage and bring Maud back home here where she belongs. And then I can start daily in Maud as well, which my beautiful girlfriend Kat will probably be happy about, because I've put more miles on her brand new Focus than she has so far. Now, quick word about merch. I want to send a massive thanks out to everyone who's been buying the new bits. Really appreciate your support. I know loads of people have been buying bits as Christmas presents as well. So yeah, massive thanks to everyone who has ordered some merchandise. The banners flew out of stock, but you still can order them on the website, and I've got more coming. So yeah, they might take a couple of weeks if you want to grab a banner, but yeah, everything else is in stock and ready to ship. I do have a few extras of the new clothing, one of which I'm wearing myself today, but they won't be going on the website until probably mid-January. I want to make sure that everyone who jumps on the pre-order gets their stuff, you know, through the post first. But yeah, massive thanks to everyone who's been supporting me by purchasing some merchandise. So that's all I've got for this video. I've actually got a really busy day today, running around doing bits for Heidi. So yeah, you'll be able to see all that on an upcoming video. I've actually already started prepping and painting the inside of Heidi's doors, so that will be also coming up in a future video. But yeah, staying super busy at the moment, and yeah, I hope you guys are gonna keep tuning in to future videos to keep up to date with the story of my life with my cars. So if you thought this video was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. Check out my website for merch and parts. Massive thanks as always to my patrons for your ongoing support. I'll leave all the links to everything in the description as usual, along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.